Welcome back to Yates American J180 restoration. In this part, we're going to clean and repack all the remaining bearings, including the table roll bearings, the drivetrain needle bearings, the drive chain tensioner, and the cutter head bearings. I took one of the worst bearings and pried off this dust shield, thinking that it would expose the races on this side, but there's actually a second shield there. So I'm not going to try to I'm not going to try to remove the shields. I'll just clean everything up from the back side. So my normal route for cleaning bearings is to just use some paint thinner. I'll immerse it in there and use a toothbrush to clean it up. I may use some carburetor cleaner to spray out any junk back behind the bearing cage. One of the things I'll do is I'll use some fine sandpaper, try to get some of the rust off, and you can use a Scotch-Brite pad to do the same thing. I'll let this soak overnight and come and flush it in the morning. This has been sitting overnight now. We'll shoot some carburetor cleaner in here. Let's give this a second bath with some paint thinner. Seems to be riding pretty smooth. I let this soak for a little bit, and I was surprised by all the sediment that's in this clean batch of paint thinner. So I sprayed it again with carburetor cleaner, and I think I'm going to call it good. So I'll clean the rest of them, and then I'll repack this with fresh grease. I don't have one of those devices to suck it in with vacuum, so you have to work it in and get it past the cage. I'm using Mobil 1 grease. So I'll work a couple more little dollops in there and then be done. I thought I'd clean up these roller bearings. So these roller bearings came in 3 different sizes. These largest bearings are from the main pulley bearing bracket, that. And then these medium bearings are from this main gear reducer, that. And then these small bearings are from the gear reducer bracket. So recall there's a pinion gear in here. I'll just spin them around in some paint thinner, try to get that old grease off, and then I'll repack them. Probably go through two rotations of this paint thinner. This first bath is to get the bulk of the grease out. These are in such good shape, there's no sense buying new ones. Well, I think I said a little bit ago that I was going to do 2 baths, but this is after the second bath of all the bearings, and there's enough sediment still in there that I'm going to give them a 3rd bath. Okay, that's after the 3rd bath, and there's still a lot of sediment in there. I'm just going to keep going until it's clear. Well, this sediment is still coming out after 11 or 12 washings. I quit counting. Incredulously, there is still residue from these bearings. So this is like the 12th or 13th time that I've rinsed these out. So number 14, there's still some residue in there. That residue, some of it looks like wood shavings or something. So I guess maybe those bearings are not sealed very well, and wood dust is getting in there. But this is how I'm rinsing or filtering it, just using an old bandana to filter out the residue and reuse it. I use a coffee filter if I drink coffee, but I don't drink coffee. After flushing those roller bearings 14 or 15 times, I'm just going to have to be satisfied with what I've got. I'll go ahead and repack these. And I'll pack them and then just put them in a storage bag until we're ready to reassemble later on. These all cleaned up real well just with a wire brush. So here's this eccentric cam chain adjuster. Well, I've got all the parts of this chain tensioning cam clean. This roller cage took a half a dozen baths in paint thinner to get clean. So it's all clean. Let's get it back together now. I may have to come back and adjust this a little bit more. There it goes. I'm going to pack a little more grease on that roller cage. And there you go. These are the keys and the other set screws. So these cutter head bearings from the J180 are really smooth running bearings. I don't want to replace them because they'd be expensive, and two, it just doesn't make sense because they're so smooth. I'm going to just repack them. So these bearings have a very interesting seal that's actually removable. It consists of two split rings. This is the outer split ring. And then there's a rubberized seal. It looks like a rubberized fabric. This is a reed valve from an automotive air conditioning compressor that I disassembled. It's real thin and springy. I thought it would work pretty well. I'm hoping to be able to get under here and remove that seal from the inner race. There it goes. I don't want to stretch it out of shape. And then there's a second metal split ring here. And then there are the bearings. So I'll remove the other seal the same way. And then we'll repack them. We'll clean them like the others and then repack them. Well, I continue to be amazed by these cutter head bearings with the replaceable seals. So I've got them all cleaned up, and I'm going to repack this one now. There's the first split ring. Gasket. I've already done one of these bearings, and I found getting the second split ring in was a little bit tricky. I actually had to use a screwdriver to kind of ease it outward into the groove. There we go. So that's in there all the way. I've had some people ask me what kind of grease I'm using on the cutter head bearings. Now I'm using this Lucas extra heavy grease. These are the bearings from the idler pulley for the flat belt. I was going to replace them, but I decided I'm going to go ahead and just clean them and repack them. This is after a couple of soakings. I'm going to blow them out and give them one last rinse. Okay, after a few soakings and some shots with carburetor cleaner and compressed air, these are ready to repack. These bearings for the idler pulley for the flat belt are not under a lot of force, but they are pretty fast because the idler pulley is actually smaller than the cutter head pulley, so it's going faster than the cutter head, which is running around 3,600 RPM. So I'm going to put some heavy duty grease on these. Well, thanks again for watching. I know that was kind of a long episode, but next time we're going to work on the Reese Drive Rotocone and get it refurbished.